Today, we're diving into a really timeless case study about leadership. It's an ancient story, but it's all about two leaders, two very different kingdoms, and why one succeeded while the other completely fell apart. And trust me, it reveals something fundamental about what it takes to build something that actually lasts. And this is where our whole story really kicks off, this one powerful sentence. You've got one house that's just gaining momentum, getting more and more influential. And on the other side, you've got a house that's in a total nosedive, just crumbling from the inside out. So that begs the big question, right? What was the invisible force at play here? What was so different about their foundations that led them down two completely opposite paths? You know, it's a question about power that's just as relevant now as it was thousands of years ago. So here's how we're going to break this down. We'll start with the context of these two houses, then we'll look at exactly why Saul's house was crumbling. We'll get into a major betrayal, see David's totally unexpected reaction, and then get to the moment where sincerity changes everything. And finally, we'll wrap up by asking, what kind of house will you build? All right, so let's set the scene. The kingdom's first king, Saul, has just died, and the whole nation fractures. We're not talking about one unified country anymore. It's basically split into two warring factions, and each one has a leader who thinks they should be on the throne. So on one side, you've got the establishment guy, Saul's son, Ishbosheth. He's got the title. It's his birthright. On the other side, you have the challenger, David, this really charismatic leader who's been gaining followers left and right. The story is basically setting this up as a head-to-head comparison of two totally different ways to lead. So, what really made the difference? I mean, was David just a better general on the battlefield? Was he a slicker politician? Or was there something deeper going on? Something about the very character of the thing they were trying to build? To figure this out, we have to start with the house that fell apart. And its weakness, it wasn't really on the battlefield. No, the real problem was inside the throne room of Saul's heir, Ishbosheth. The power dynamic here was, well, it was a total mess. Ishbosheth was what you might call a scarecrow king. He was king in name only. The real power belonged to his commander, Abner. Abner was the one who put him on the throne, and you better believe he never let the king forget it. So the whole foundation was just built on insecurity and mistrust. And this shaky alliance finally just snaps. Ishbosheth accuses Abner of sleeping with one of his father's former concubines. Now, back then, this was way more than a personal insult. It was seen as a move to claim the throne. This was the weak king trying desperately to finally show he was in charge. Abner's reaction? He just explodes. "Am I a dog's head?" he yells, totally insulted. His pride is shattered. He's basically saying, "Are you kidding me? After everything I've done for you, you're going to question my loyalty over this?" And in that one moment, it's over. The loyalty is gone, the house has officially broken. So with that bridge burned, Abner doesn't just pack his bags and leave. Nope. He makes a cold, hard calculation to save his own skin, even if it means tearing down the very kingdom he promised to protect. He immediately sends a secret message to his enemy, David. And the offer is just stunning. He says, "Make a deal with me, and I will bring the entire nation over to your side." This had nothing to do with what was right. This was pure politics, driven by a bruised ego. Now this is where the whole story takes a fascinating turn. David has just been handed the entire kingdom on a silver platter. The easy thing to do would be to just say, yes, absolutely. But his response is so much smarter, and it tells you everything about the kind of house he's trying to build. David's strategy here is just brilliant. First, he agrees to talk. But then he adds a condition. He says he wants his first wife, Michal, back, who just happens to be King Saul's daughter. See, their marriage gave him a legitimate claim to the throne. But here's the masterstroke. He doesn't ask Abner for her. He goes over Abner's head and makes the demand directly to his rival, King Ishbosheth. And this move just exposes all the rot in Saul's house. The so-called king, Ishbosheth, is so weak that he immediately does what his enemy tells him to do. He orders Michal to be ripped away from her new husband. Think about that. The king is taking orders from his rival, while his own top general carries it out. The whole power structure is a complete joke. So, just when it looks like this deal is about to happen, the whole thing gets thrown into chaos. A sudden act of violence creates a huge political crisis, and how David responds becomes the ultimate test of his character. As Abner is leaving David's camp, he gets ambushed and murdered by David's own top general, Joab. The official reason is revenge, but let's be real. It's also a very convenient way to get rid of a powerful new player on the board. This puts David in a terrible spot. The entire nation is watching. Does he just look the other way, signaling that he's a ruthless, calculating leader? Or does he do something else? I mean, politically, this is a huge win for him. His enemy's most powerful asset is gone. But David doesn't celebrate. He does the exact opposite. He publicly shouts that he had nothing to do with it. He tears his clothes, he fasts, and he openly weeps for the man who'd been his enemy for years. He even writes a tribute song for Abner and orders everyone in the kingdom to mourn him. And the effect was incredible. This raw, genuine act of sincerity just cut through all the politics. The source says the entire nation understood that David was a man of integrity. He took a potential disaster and turned it into the very thing that cemented their trusting hand. Okay, so let's pull all these threads together. When you put these two houses side by side, the reason one got stronger while the other got weaker becomes crystal clear. The house of Saul was built on schemes, ego, and betrayal. It was a place where titles meant nothing and power was everything. And so, of course, it grew weaker. The house of David, on the other hand, was built on integrity. Even when it wasn't the easy political move, it was guided by sincerity, and that's what earned him real loyalty. And so, it grew stronger. And that's really the heart of it, isn't it? Lasting power, real influence. It doesn't come from clever tricks or being ruthless. It's the natural result of a foundation built on truth and sincerity, the kind of character that makes people want to follow you, not because they have to, but because they actually trust you. Which leaves all of us with one final and really important question. In our own lives, in our careers, with our families and our communities, what kind of house are we building? Is it a house based on calculation, one that's destined to get weaker over time? Or is it a house built on sincerity, designed from the ground up to grow stronger and stronger?